We are good.
I say, let's get started.
Yay!
Hi, guys. Welcome to MDP Talk Off the Table. The first one in, I think we're either going to have 4 or 5 this spring, which is really exciting. But we're going to start with introductions. I will start. My name is Derick McKoy Jr. I am the founder and executive artistic director of McKoy Dance Project.
I am Mika Greene. I am a dancer with McKoy Dance Project, and I have known Derick for like 5 years
Oh my
now.
gosh,
And yeah, I performed with them for the first time, or well, did the film We Started Something Heavy with them last year, which was my first project with McKoy Dance Project.
We love Mika.
Yes, we do. Hi, everyone. My name is Michaela Brandon. I am the Associate Artistic Director at McKoy Dance Project. Derick and I met in college, freshman year, 2015, in the Fordham ALE BFA program. And here we are.
So what is MDP Talks? So why are we doing it? It is basically a community outreach engagement program where we are trying to get behind the dance. We are trying to strip away just of being a presenting organization. We are actually trying to engage our community in different ways and also provide resources. So MDP Talks, everyone, it will be a different topic. We have a couple, whether it's surviving on race or gender and sexuality, self-care, whatever topics we feel are important or we're inspired by for that particular month. We will be having a live discussion. Sometimes it will be just me and Michaela, or we'll have special guests or a full panel for you to enjoy, ask questions, and hear different perspectives and just join in on the conversation. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, just that at MDP, we're really interested in connecting with people in more than one way. And we understand that dance is a very powerful connector, but that oftentimes it's the dancers and the audience. And so we want to see how we can connect with one another, people who are interested in our work, in a more personal way, because at the end of the day, we're human. We're human too, and it's important that we remember that.
Yeah, so it's well, we kind of like talked about this yesterday, but it was like it is a way to engage community, but also just honor each other as people, and not all the time it's just artists or that shiny thing that is on stage, and it's like intimacy with the truth, hearing people speak their truth, their experience, and just unpacking things that we are kind of like hiding or society holds up against us. So with that, we're kind of gonna start with one topic and just see where the conversations lead us. If you have any questions, you can kind of shoot them on Instagram and we'll get to them. But we're just gonna talk, and I hope you guys enjoy. The first one's kind of a doozy, but how does your identity guide the choices you make?
Am I going first?
I'm gonna see who wants to start with that question.
I'll go first. Well, I mean, I think that something that's really important to me is just that every decision I make honors my identity and feels true to who I am and true to the values that I hold dear and true to what I want to accomplish. And so I think that I identify as a queer biracial person, and so I also want to honor everyone else who shares those identities with me and uplifting all of these communities that I feel part of.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think for me, especially with the start of this company, I have been kind of looking at my identity in a new way, a way that I haven't before. Especially, I tell this story. This was an inspiration behind the film, but the George Floyd murder really affected me in a way that I've never experienced in my life. I think on top of being in COVID and being in my apartment alone and not having my roommates, I sort of saw a mirror in the event that I recognized that could have been me. And with the Trayvon Martin and all the other murders, I didn't sort of make that connection. And when George Floyd, that event boiled in my skin, it kind of inspired me to not sit idle in my identity anymore. So I identify as a Black, also queer male, cisgender male, and I feel that now all of the choices I make, I'm naturally an ambitious and determined person. I make huge goals for myself, those BHAGs that I'm always trying to accomplish. But I think now I am sort of tailoring them to who I think I want to be and who I feel like on the inside. So I value mentorship, I value connection and community and being able to have these sort of conversations with people. And I look through that lens as who I am as a Black person, as a queer person, what I have to offer to the people that I'm encountering. And I think that really does sort of guide the conversations I'm having, guiding the gifts that I'm giving to other people, the support that I'm giving to others. And yeah, it has been inspiring from not only my art, but my familial relations and my friendships and yeah, just a whole total reorienting around my identity.
I'm good on that question. I don't feel called to share anything on it. So if we want to move on.
Okay, sure. What does home mean? Yeah, these are like what is it feel like?
Home feels like safety,
Mhm.
like spiritual safety, like the allowance of freedom without needing to do anything for it, like without needing to work for it. Like home feels just like where you're supposed to be and where you've been this whole time and maybe like went away for a little bit. Like a sigh of relief, like a deep exhale.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that home is where you let your guard down, whether that's a physical place or a person or multiple people. I think that so recently a lot of my family has moved to the East Coast. I'm from Portland, Oregon originally, and a lot of my family has moved out here. And it's interesting, a lot of people will ask me, like, did you ever move back to Portland? And, I don't really care what the city is as long as my people are there. Like, I have so much family here now, and I've lived in New York for 7 years, and this is the most comfortable that I've felt here. So yeah, I think it's about where you feel safe, safety, emotional, spiritual safety.
Yeah, I think for me, it's also along the same lines, and that's good that you tapped into that. 'Cause my follow-up question is like, what does it feel different when it is a place versus when it's a person? And what is that distinction for you? But for me, I think that home is wherever there is a sense of like sanctuary, where there's peace, it is calm. Yes, when you can let your guard down, when sometimes your home may be in disarray, actually the edifice, the building can be in disarray if it's not there's not cleanliness, or there is sort of disturbance into your normal routine, that kind of affects the sanctuary that I have. So I think that wherever there is a sense of peace or calmness, I think that's where I kind of attribute home, and then that can be a person, or that can be a building, or your home that you come to after work every day. And I kind of try to keep that atmosphere in my relationships, but also in the place that I come to at the end of the day, every day. Anybody want to expand?
Yeah, no, so talking about like people versus physical places when it comes to a feeling of home, I am in the process of looking for a new apartment right now. But the apartment I'm in currently, I've been in for almost 3 years. I went through the whole pandemic in this apartment with my roommate, who is a dear friend of mine, and I'm sad to leave the apartment. Like, even though it has its issues and I hate the landlord.
AKA living in New York.
Right. But I've had so much growth in that apartment, especially going through the pandemic in there. Like, I spent so much time inside that apartment. Mm-hmm. And I'm very attached to it. I don't know.
I think, yeah, it's also like, it's a part of the routine, like the place that it's like whatever's familiar, like home is familiar. It's not necessarily something that is like rooted in change or like chaos. Chaos doesn't always have to be a bad thing, but rooted in a sort of like a shift. So I think when we get used to that idea in that particular moment, it's kind of like it's sad. It's like it's literally like a departure from what you know to be true or feel good for yourself. So that makes sense to me.
I was just reading some of the comments on here. My dad said where the dogs are is where home is.
Yeah, your pets can also count wherever your pets are. That is home.
Yes, people or animals.
Yeah, because pets do bring peace. So that makes sense.
Hey, Gianna.
Who's on? Gianna. Hey, Gianna. Yeah. So. Yeah, I think
Miss Luce shared with us that home is a sense of self that never has to be challenged, never has to feel never has to feel indifferent, and is nothing but truth.
Truth. It's not indifferent. That's beautiful. Yeah, and home can change. I think it's fine to like find different homes as you grow as a person. I think sometimes we are kind of stuck in a projection of what we think home can be, but I think when you accept that home changes as you change, I think you find your peace quicker.
Yeah.
I think.
And home is
I'm
also
definitely stuck in that. I'm definitely stuck in that idea of like, I don't want to keep moving around New York City. I get stressed out every time. And like those things are kind of out of my control, but I know that it's really, not to be cliche, but home is what you make of it, or like home is where your heart is. But yeah, it's kind of like, it does change. Like we have to expect these shifts in our lives as we continue to grow as people, as we continue to explore our inner workings and who we are. Home kind of feels different. Like I think I kind of shift. Like home feels like a place, and then it feels like a person, and it can be something totally outside. It could be your passion, dance.
Yeah. And I think it's not only outside factors shifting, which then you have to shift your sense of home, but as you change and evolve on the inside too, what feels like home to you is going to change. And that can be really hard sometimes especially when you have to like let other people in your life know that you're making a shift or something like that.
Letting the people in your life know that you are making a shift. That is a deep question. There's something there. How do we start to approach those conversations when we start to feel like the person we were is now not who we are becoming? And how do we announce that to the people that are dear to us? I think that's the question that's brewing out there.
Trial and error. Trial and error. I mean, I think that if we feel like that's a conversation that we want to be had, then we have to remind ourselves that like we don't have to have the answers. And I think a lot of times we want to have the answers before we share with someone where we're at in our journey, like as if we're afraid to like look like we don't have it together, or like look like we don't know, or sound like we don't know what we're talking about, like all these things that we're afraid of being there with one another. I think we can let some of that go, because it actually serves to like create a wall in between like me and you. If I'm like there's nowhere that we need to be other than like exactly where we are. And it's okay if we don't, if this moment doesn't look the way we want it to look. Because everybody has that going on, whether they know it or not. And artists, like we can't run from it because half the time we're making pieces about it. You know?
It's true.
Like we're really choosing to take that on, to take that investigation on a regular basis. You know, we can't close off before we, you know, the nature of the work demands a certain level of openness and vulnerability on a regular basis. And so, yeah, it's a really interesting question of how do we approach those conversations of we feel like we're changing, or we feel like we're different, or we feel like we're shifting. How do we share that in a way that it will be understood, right? Or maybe like, do we want it to be understood? Do we need it to be understood, or do we need it to just be felt? Like, does the audience just need to feel the story? Do they necessarily need to understand the story or relate to it? I guess is the question.
That's kind of, you're picking at what I'm working on in my own processes. With this idea of authenticity, like as I'm building this work, I've oftentimes now shifted my practice into actually asking the dancers questions before we actually start building movement. And from these from their answers, I get inspired about what story I feel like we're getting ready to tell. I may have a general idea, but really the artists are fueling me with their personal identities, their stories, their experiences, and I start crafting the structure. And yes, the structure may be clearly laid out and it's not loose, and I'm like, oh, you can just do whatever you want over there, don't do that. But the fact that I'm building this outline for the dancers, I don't tell them what the story is that they're dancing about. I feel like that provides a disservice sometimes when you're laying out every specific detail for the dancers. I get inspired by what they tell me. I build this structure, and then I ask them, dance about what you feel it's about, or be inspired by your answers that you told me, and then input that into this structure that I built. So there's kind of like two simultaneous stories happening. There's the story that I built and the story that the dancers are dancing about. And I think that there's an interesting contrast there that creates this sort of like visceral or beautiful storytelling where the artists are feeling something real, and then the audience is kind of watching this thing evolve on stage, and it feels different every time. At least I think it does. It looks different every time as the artists are kind of playing with it or deciding in different moments that they are going to dive deeper into something, and that's more fulfilling for me to watch, because that's the kind of work that I'm interested in seeing as an audience member, and not just a choreographer or a director, or even as a dancer. And not the work I'm interested in dancing, I'm interested in like watching and feeling these things where the person on stage is having a very real experience. I think that's when all of us are like drooling and we're like, what is happening in this atmosphere, and I want a part of it, and not just something that's like showy and pretty all the time. Yeah. And it's like outside of dance, it's kind of like the art or the practice of letting go of the expectations that you have to feel a certain way, or you have to be a certain way. And I think as we kind of, like what you were saying with trial and error, as you kind of like practice these the art, this letting go of what you expect to be the right way to be yourself, and also let the people around you know, you kind of find ease in just who you are. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. You said like letting go of how you think you're supposed to be yourself. Like if you have to think about how to be yourself, you're not being yourself.
That's true.
And I mean, that took me a long time to learn, though, that sometimes you don't have the words to explain who you are, what you're feeling, what your desires are. Sometimes it's sometimes purely just physical, and you just have to let yourself feel that, and then try to get others to see what you're feeling.
I guess the question. The best way to announce is to just feel it and be, and let everybody else see what happens.
Okay, come on.
Next question kind of goes along, but what do you do to take care of your mental health?
Rest.
Off the table?
I don't know how off the table you're trying to get.
I'm just playing. Mika, did you say rest?
I said rest, yes. Which also took me a long time to learn that I mean rest by allowing yourself to get into that state where you aren't thinking about how to be. You're just being, you're just feeling, you're just allowing you to do you. And some days for me, that means being on TikTok for hours. Some days that means sleeping till noon. Some days that means cleaning my entire apartment. It literally is just doing what I physically feel like doing.
Sometimes it means cleaning my entire body.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Taking like an hour-long shower
Like-
sometimes is so therapeutic.
Not
Like
for-
covering all the bases.
Maybe not for your skin, not too hot, but.
Covering all the bases. Again, my hair done, my nails done, my eyebrows done,
Mhm.
do a face mask, you know?
Also-
Like sometimes you just, and for me, it's all or nothing. Like for me, it really is all or nothing. So like I will make it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. And not because like that's what I decided to do. Like I didn't put it on my calendar like self-care day. It's just I woke up that day and I felt like I needed a little loving. I felt like I needed a little love. And those were the ways that those are all things that like I enjoy. Like those really are luxuries. Like being able to go somewhere like to a facility or a studio or a salon and being able to have someone as like to pay for a service, you know, like that really is a tremendous luxury. So I don't take any of that lightly.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Like just being able to sit back and have someone, have your nails be done, or, you get the grooming and stuff. I think that's definitely, we're definitely in the luxury zone when we which is why I only do it, like, I only feel the desire to do it every once in a while, like when it feels like it's time to, because I've learned that I'm always trying to take care of other people, that I actually didn't realize that I don't receive care like with ease. Like I got a massage like a couple months ago, and that was the first massage I've gotten in years. And I couldn't relax. My good friend Laura, she actually popped in here for a sec, but I don't think she's still here. But she was doing the yoga teacher training also, and she had just gotten her license. And she was holding my ankle. She was holding my leg and like shaking it, like I was laying on my stomach, like, and my knee was bent, like my leg was just bent, like if you're holding that leg, you're holding that leg. Like that's one of the most passive positions you could be in. It's not like I'm in a développé à la seconde and you're telling me to relax my leg. Like that's a high intensity position.
Mhm.
This is me laying on my stomach, not being able to relax my body. So I really she said to me, it's okay, you just don't trust me yet. And I'm like, wow, you're right, I don't. Like my lack of trust, my lack of grounding is showing up in my physical body. Like I'm not able to relax my body. So it was a huge moment for me. And like by the end, she said that I felt myself being able to release more. But I really, it was very emotional. Like I cried at the end. Like it was very, very emotional because I realized that I don't put myself in that position, like in such a vulnerable, I don't like willingly put myself there. I'm so used to like knowing where my limbs are in space and knowing where my body is and like controlling so many Chris and I were just, one of Derick's roommates, we were just speaking the other day about this and how like just as a dancer, you literally forget that you've spent honestly, probably more time, depending on how long you've been dancing for, like more time in your life activating your body than you have spent allowing it to be relaxed.
Mhm.
And he worked with a somatic teacher, and he shared with me that she, I guess, just placed her hand on his chest and said, just stand there. And he was instantly in tears because he was like, I thought I was standing. So like with me, it was like, I thought I was willing to receive. Like I thought that I was willing to receive until I was getting the massage, like a very like clear physical representation or example of care, and not being able to receive that and being like, oh, maybe I'm actually giving too much because I'm afraid of that place of vulnerability. Like maybe I'm focusing so much on being there for others and allowing my cup to be empty so that they can fill it, and I'm not actually allowing myself to explore what's really there. I don't know. I went off a little bit there. I don't know if there's anything. I don't know if there's anything in there. Does that resonate? How do we feel about that?
Yeah, there's lots of things in there. I think for me, like, this is kind of going into another question that we kind of have lined up, but I kind of struggle with this one because I think that I don't really get those moments of rest. I think that I'm normally just working all the time, and even when I'm not working, I'm working. So, and I think like now I'm starting to realize that I might be using work to run away from whatever I may be running away from in here that needs to be tended to. I think that aside from having to take care of responsibilities and do this project and make sure everybody's paid and do all of those kind of things, it's a little scary. I'm like, okay, so I feel this pent up energy and feel it's building. And I was telling my mentor that I feel like my plate, I just constantly front load my plate. And then I get like, I'm getting ready to fall off the edge of the cliff. And then I'm like, okay, time to reprioritize. And I start throwing things off. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore until I'm like on a very manageable level. And then the pattern of behavior is, oh, I'm kind of bored, or I need more things to do. So I start throwing more things on my plate. So there's not really time for me to rest because I'm always trying to shove new things on this plate. And now I'm starting to be like, why do you keep doing that? You know you don't like when it happens, but why do you keep doing that? And so this kind of leads me to the next question. But can you rest if you have to pay bills? And what does that look like?
It's hard. I mean, rest is a luxury.
Yeah. It shouldn't be though.
It shouldn't.
Unmute yourself or unmute us on here. Unmute on Zoom, but then make sure your volume's down. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Woohoo! We love technology, don't we? We do.
We're doing it.
We do.
I think that I feel like that's a big part of it. I know that I said like, yeah, I feel like I might be running away for something. And I think that's a new discovery that I kind of had like within the last couple of weeks actually. But when I have so many responsibilities like grad school and running MDP and trying to dance myself and full-time job and freelance choreography, I feel like because I'm doing all of these responsibilities and trying to also keep myself fed artistically and emotionally, I think that kind of juggle is like, those are kind of bills too. Like that's a bill to myself to make sure that I'm fed emotionally and artistically. and then having to pay actual bills to have a shelter over my head or even food, those are bills as well. So all of these bills are kind of taking away from my moments of rest. And now I think rest kind of, it's not so rest, but I think when I am able to dance, on the week, dancing kind of has been moved to the weekend because the weekdays are too crazy. But when I don't get to go to my weekly Horton class and a weekly ballet class on the weekends, I'm like miserable throughout the week. And I feel like those are the moments that I can actually like unplug my brain.
Well, then I would say that that is rest.
Yeah.
Moments where you feel at peace, but maybe it's not physical rest for your body. You also need to take care of your body. But if that is emotionally fueling you, that is so important.
So
Oh, interesting. That's a very like sustainable perspective, I feel like that's a really that sentiment is such a catalyst, because if we do embrace a definition of rest as like that kind of peace, like the peace, the freedom, the ease, that feeling, then it could become a task of, well, how can I feel if I'm not able to physically be home, or if I'm not able to be in my bed, how can I perhaps like bring this feeling in whatever I'm doing in that moment, so that we're practicing rest. Like then rest almost becomes like a chameleon, and we can allow for it to be there, maybe in ways that we haven't necessarily felt it before.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, we still got to lay on the couch with the feet up and eat that. Like we still need that. We still need that.
Shows.
But it did make me think. It did make me think. Like, you know, the next time I'm in a yoga class, or the next time I'm in class, like, how can I relax? Like, how can I, when I'm doing something that supports my craft, maybe in a I guess a different way than like doing this, answering the emails and paying the bit, you know, like when I'm doing something that supports it in maybe like a physical way or a spiritual way, then it might be helpful for me to ask myself, like, how can I rest here? Like, how can I rest here? Like we sit on the we get on the subway and we say, how can I rest here for a moment? Like, how can you're cooking dinner and you don't have anything else to do other than cooking dinner. Like, I know for me, a lot of the times I'm too tired to cook. I'm like, I don't want to. And I forget that being able to cook, not only like being able to cook, like knowing how to cook, but also having food to cook is such a privilege. It's such a luxury. So in those moments, maybe I can use that gratitude to then ask the question of, how can I rest now? Because this is such a privilege. Like it is such a privilege to be able to do this in this moment. And if I'm resenting it, then I've moved away from gratitude, I think. Because rest to me also feels like gratitude. Like it feels like being able to be grateful. When I'm not rested, when I'm tired and I'm stressed, I ain't grateful for anything. I'm like, this is all, it all feels like things that I don't want. Like it all, I'm like, I have a negative relationship to it. Like, that's how I know I'm tired. That's how I know when I need rest, because I don't have anything within me to like exhale, like to rest. So
yeah,
okay, I'm really glad you said that, Mika, because now I feel like I have something new to play with.
New life nugget.
And a new task in this grand composition of life.
It's a
Yeah.
giving of yourself to yourself.
Very interesting. It's like sort of like a meditative state you have to reach in whatever task that you're doing. And I can kind of see that. I mean, like, I love to cook too. And like, I haven't been doing it as much as I used to because I'm like, I don't have time for this. It's going to stress me out. And I got to wash dishes. And it's like always thinking of like, what's next because I have to do this thing. And I think that gratitude is kind of rooted in being present. Just be present in what you're doing and just take that time for yourself. And I think it kind of like slows time down for you because if I'm thinking about, oh, I have to cook, which means I have to prep and then I have to wash the dishes and then I have to put those away and then I have to eat and then I have more dishes to wash and then I have you're kind of like, you're not present. You're already into the post of the task. Being present in whatever task whatever action you're in, I think that kind of like, that gives you more time, makes you feel more time. Yeah, it's very interesting. Very, very interesting to think of rest as gratitude and taking the moment. And that's this sensation. Rest is a sensation rather than an actual action. What a way to end that conversation. Okay, so to wrap things up, we're going to play a Things That game. One person, we're going to do 2 rounds of it. Everybody's going to say things that make me, could be whatever, things that make me exhale or things that make me cry. Everybody has to answer it really quickly and then and we'll end up there. Okay, anybody wants to start?
Is the person that says it also playing in that round?
Yeah, you have to answer first. Oh. Things that make me cry. You answer, then everybody goes around.
Okay, what's the order? Does it matter?
We'll start with Mika. Mika's the guest.
I have one. Okay. Do I have to answer first? If I ask it? Oh, okay. Well, then I can do my answer. Okay. Things that make me relax. And my answer is people that I love.
Gummy bears.
Ooh.
Incense.
Okay.
On until we ran out.
Okay, keep going. Oh yeah, let's do it. Go ahead.
Okay. Music.
Oh, deep tissue massages. I need to get in that muscle.
Shavasana. Like the end of the yoga class.
Good food.
Changing out of your clothes that you've been wearing out all day.
The sun.
You said the sun?
Uh-huh.
Ooh, that's a good one. Water.
Oh, I was gonna say swimming, but you can have it.
Well, that's an activity. I just mean like water in general.
I was like being in the water. I think that relaxes me.
Sunsets.
The sun is your battery.
Oh no. Am I gonna run out now? Soft textures.
I'm gonna go to the next one because I don't have one. Okay, so things that make me go yum.
Ooh.
Things that make you go yum. Oh yes. French fries.
A nice juicy orange.
Creamy, decadent desserts.
The smell of apple cinnamon.
The smell of Palo Santo
I actually don't like that one, but
at the end of the yoga class. At the end of the yoga.
Fried chicken.
oh,
What'd you say?
we're here. Fried chicken.
Yum.
Tacos. Oh, tacos and margaritas.
Ooh,
If you know me, I'm a margarita. Give me a
When's the last time you got
margarita.
margaritas?
We should go. We're gonna go get margaritas.
Walnut brownies.
Ooh.
Oh. I had one. Fresh cookies.
Oh, fruit.
Tea, green tea with just the right amount of honey, just the right amount of, yes, Miss Lou, hot walnut brownies, taking it to the next level. Yes, I love it, and I agree. Okay, let's do the last one. Is there, oh, I have to think of it. You're
Yes,
right.
it's your turn.
When was the last time I played a game like this? I'm like, what are the rules? Okay.
This is off the table.
Huh?
There are no rules. It's off the table.
You're right. Things that make me want to move.
Oh.
Is that hard, actually? Do I have an answer to that? Why'd you respond? Should I pick a different one? Maybe that wasn't a good one.
I would say I'm thinking. I don't know.
Does it have to be things that make me, or can it be things that whatever?
Things that whatever. No rules.
Yeah.
No
things
rules.
that
Okay.
Whatever.
I don't.
First thing that comes to your head.
I thought of things that light up the dark, like things that yeah, like things that light things up.
Mm.
Okay.
So like a smile from a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
Physical connection.
It could be literal also. What'd you say? Stars, flashlights.
Foreshadowing to my new piece that's coming in the spring, Glimmer in the Dusk. Hope to see everybody at the spring concert.
Shameless plug, booyah.
Who's it?
I said flashlight.
Candles.
Hope.
Aw.
Ms. Lou says a happy memory, a child's laugh, a good song.
Oh, a good song.
I think a good song might have been in response to things that want to make you move, though.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Or things that make you, yeah, it was. I knew it. What else? Like a candle, like fire, flames.
Love.
Woo!
Thanksgiving dinner, when it's done right. Better make sure the spices are in that cabinet. Last one, take us home.
When the doorbell rings and you order food.
Okay, that is it. That is all we have time for. We are 8:31 actually. We are hoping to do these, I think, once a month. The next one will probably be in February. There's definitely one scheduled in March, April, and May, but we're still plotting out what February is going to look like. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Please let us know in the comments or hit us up separately and tell us what you thought. I hope to see everybody soon at the spring concert. or at the workshop next week. And stay well, stay warm. I know it's super chilly, at least in New York, wherever you are. And stay loved and blessed. Anybody else want to sign off? Woohoo!
Woohoo! Thanks for coming, everyone. We will see you again soon.
Stop.